Welcome to Mic'd Up Sports, the show that gives people in sports an unfiltered platform to share their stories. If you want to help us tell more stories, check us out at patreon.com/TSBtelevision, paypal.me/TSBtelevision, or on Cash App at TSB Television. Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Mic'd Up Sports. We have recorded about 100 episodes since we began a few years ago, and we would love to add another 100. We won't get there in one sitting today, but helping us reach that next milestone is Sade Pollard, a former track athlete at St. Paul Harding. And if you remember back in the day, it's kind of weird to say, but she was one of the speediest sprinters in the state. In fact, I think there was one year where you scored enough points by yourself to give your high school a third-place finish in the team category. That is how talented and swift she was out on the track. But Sade, I know it's been a while since we last saw each other. Glad we were able to make this happen. And what do you remember from your time as an athlete, being the star figure on the track team?
Thank you. I would say the hard work I put in. I actually put in the work. I put in the time to do what I did. So for me, it was doing it, making it happen, being on the track, being with my coaches, even when there was like prom or school dances, or if I wanted to go hang out with my friends and stuff, I had to go to practice first. So I had to always keep that in mind, that I had practice and I had to be there. If I wanted to be the best, this is what I had to do to be the best.
So I guess we'll start at the beginning. What got you into track? I know you tried out some other sports too at Harding High School when I first heard of you, but what fascinated you about track, and when did you get the sense of, hey, I can put some distance on the competition as you typically did?
Right. I guess, when I started running track when I was about 8. And when we were younger, we used to always race, and I used to always win. I never thought that track was going to be my thing. I actually was spotted running. So I was running, and I met who I call my father, my mentor, Henry Combs. I call him Coach Combs, though, or Dad.
I remember that because
Yep, that's my dad.
I remember that from the alumni games. He would run those at Graduate Mechanic Arts, and so they would always do the Mechanic Arts Central games, and that I remember.
Yeah, and so he actually told me to come to practice and told me, like, oh, you got speed. I didn't know that I had speed like I had. So when I came to practice, he pulled it out of me. He was like, well, this is what you can do. This is what we're gonna do. This is what you gotta do to be there. And I did it. And as long as I listened, I've excelled. I excelled in everything I did. I did volleyball, I did basketball, I did cross country. And track was my thing. And I really put time and hard work in it. So that's how I got started. I was actually pushed into it. It wasn't like I want to run track. No, it was like somebody seen that I was talented and was like, let's make it happen.
I read some of the archives as well when you were featured. I'll get to that in a moment, but I thought it was crazy and cool that you were featured in both of the Twin Cities newspapers around the same time when your escapades and your talents were becoming a thing in the track circuit. But there were a couple of stories. One of them, apparently, your mom had a background in the sport, and there was a point, I don't know when, but at some point where you were able to outrun her and she said, I'm not going to race against Sade anymore.
Yeah, I was 12. I was taught, and our family were very competitive. It can be 1 or 2 in the morning, and if an argument started about sports, you got to settle it right then and there. So we're gonna go race in the street, or we're gonna go to the basketball court. You have to settle it. And so my mom, she was talking all this stuff, and my mom's very talented in sports. She was talking all this stuff, and I'm not about to let this old lady beat me in my head, and I'm talking stuff too, like, she ain't about to beat me. And went outside and raced, I beat her. Definitely beat her. And I mean, like, we bring it up all the time now, but it's a good thing. I like it. It gives you a chance to be yourself and act like, I feel like us being competitive growing up helped me on the track, helped me in basketball. It helped me do a lot because it was like I wasn't backing down. Whether I was racing a guy or a girl, I wasn't backing down. So.
And you told me your oldest son is in high school. Is he a freshman?
He is a freshman.
Has he challenged you to any races?
He did.
And how has that gone? Is he able to outrun you, or do you still have that extra gear?
I still have that extra gear. See, I work out just enough to beat the kids. Now, my son's about 6 feet, so we're gonna race again because we were both there, neck and neck. He said he beat me. I said he didn't. We'll race again this summer, but I'll be prepared.
Well, let me know if you need evidence in case there's a dispute. Like you said, it was neck and neck. So if you need someone to check the tape or see you cross the line first, let me know. And
I sure will.
Because I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. So
I sure will.
Now, how cool would it be, though? Where does your son attend, if I may ask?
He go to North in Oakdale.
Oh, North St. Paul.
Yeah.
That North. When you say North, there's a lot of them around here.
Heard.
But has he expressed interest in taking up sports, like maybe the same sports you did? Because I'm wondering how surreal would it be if he goes into track. Now, I don't know how many state titles he'll win, but that's not the point. But to be around long enough to set milestones and make a name for yourself, if he gets that chance, how surreal would that be to go, I remember when I was doing that?
I mean, like, so my oldest son, he runs like my brother. And so my brother won state also. And my son is like your 400, 800 runner. And I'm excited to see how it go. He played basketball. So basketball is like his thing. But I told him, like, that 800 and 400 is you. And I mean, like, he runs it gracefully. But he runs like my brother. Now, my younger two, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Because they got the speed, like my middle child. He's the one that's going to go that extra mile to, I got to win. So if you do 10 push-ups, I'm doing 20. And then the baby's just following, and he's fast. And I love it. So I definitely want to see what they do, because it's always neat to see what your kids get from you, especially in sports.
Well, I'll keep that in mind in case I draw North St. Paul and basketball the track. As you may have seen, I'm covering sports just about every day. So new matchup, new sites, who knows? But a while ago, and you mentioned this back then, and it still rings true now, you referred to Henry Combs as dad and all of these things. How was he a father figure to you? Because in those archives that I read, you were in a single-parent household, if I'm correct. So how did he provide that father figure role that you might not have always had growing up? And it's clear that you've made the most of it, so I'm not trying to imply that things fell apart. But what was it about him that developed that mentor-mentee relationship where even now you still look back fondly on what he did for you?
That's my dad. He's my dad. He was a dad like any other dad. He's been in my life since I was 7. And I mean, everything that a parent does for their child, my dad did for me. So if I'm in trouble in school or if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, my dad was there. When it's time to go out of town, I'm with my dad. So, I mean, he's been there. He's been there for everything. And I always like to make sure that's known. I'm like, even when I was injured or when people were trying to attack me, or if I needed help with my homework, or if I just needed that talk, he was always there. He's always there, still there. You know, I could pick up the phone and say, I'm having a day today, or I want to do this, and I'm going to get that honest, truthful conversation all in love. So I definitely appreciate that. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, who would attack you? Who would have the galls to do that?
No, but I mean, like...
Did people take offense at you being so fast?
Yeah, they did. You know,
like,
and,
what? Where did this kid come from?
In high school, I had people say I was using steroids. I had a guy coming up to the school looking for me. It was a lot of weird stuff that happened, and I mean, like, my dad was there for everything. When I injured, we're going to therapy, you know, so I've definitely always had that support.
This must have happened after I graduated, apparently, because I'm like, I never heard about this.
Mm-hmm. A guy was like stalking me. A guy was coming to the school looking for me. The girl that was in the paper, and I'm just like, you know, and like all these things are real. Like, people do that, and I never suspected it. And I mean, like, even when they said I had steroids, and I'm just like, no, I actually work. I work really hard, and I actually had the opportunity to work with a lot of upperclassmen, like Patrick, Vanessa, Nula, like. And
you're taking me back now. I'm like, those were all classmates of mine.
Yeah, and they really, Emmanuel.
Vanessa Bates stayed her senior year,
yep.
and she pulled her hamstring, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. She was able to finish, but
and I mean, like,
she was so proud about that.
Yeah,
she's a mother of 3 now too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Another bit of symmetry. I don't know if you two still keep in touch.
That's my
yes.
girl. Yeah, I try to keep in touch with everybody. It's not often, but
she was a sprinter too, wasn't she?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm guessing you outran her.
I did. That was
that probably wasn't your I'm going to outrun everyone in the school, right? But now you're taking me back.
Yeah. When she injured, I went back to get her. Like, that's my girl. She still went through the finish line, and that was like, Mr. Lindsay took really good pictures where it like marked it. I was very grateful for that. But I got to work out with them, and there have been meets where I got to run with the guys, and they really pushed me. Even when I was tired or I didn't want to work, sometimes they would come work out and they wasn't even competing. So Mark, all of them. So I'm just like, I'm very grateful for that, because they didn't have to.
I've known Vanessa for years. We had a pretty close friendship in high school, and we still talk here and there, so it doesn't surprise me to hear that she was one who reached out, because that's always been her character. And Patrick and Nula. You know what this is going to do? I'm going to be tagging all these people. I don't know if you have any photos with them. Helping you out, but I'm like, I was excited to do this podcast. Now you're giving me all this extra homework, Sade. What are you trying to do here?
Man, it's so true, though. I mean, like, I did have a lot of support. A lot of people that believed in me. And even when I was tired, like, or we had 10 hills and I'm not done yet, but I'm like, I'm not going to make it. It was always somebody like, I'm going to do your last 2 with you. We got this. And so, I mean, even them being there in the stands or stretching with me and stuff like that, I remember those things. And they didn't let me whine. So it was a good feeling.
It is. And Nula, I know I think she's been in the military for years.
Yes,
she was a 3-sport athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you and I could do an entirely different podcast just remembering all of the teammates.
Yes.
You know what? I'm starting to understand why you remembered me now, because you're talking about all these athletes that I went to school with, that I graduated with.
Mm-hmm. And see, I played basketball with Nula.
Mm-hmm.
And
Vanessa, I think, played too.
Yeah, she did. Well, I think she did.
I know she played for a while. Yeah. That wasn't her top sport.
Mm-hmm.
I think track was, but you know this as an
Yep.
athlete, and I encourage this even now with the high school games. I'm always for taking up sports outside of your primary because it gives you a chance to do something different where you don't have to worry about rankings or records or who's recruiting you. And I feel, I don't know where your kids are at, but sometimes if you are fixated on one sport so often or so frequently, you can get burned out by it just from all the routine. So I think I remember one of the Star Tribune stories noting that you were the leading scorer on a team that had 2 wins, but for you it was, I'm guessing, something to do and something to keep you in shape for the track season.
And I mean, like, I train off season too. So even if I had basketball, that Saturday I had off season training. And sometimes it was just me. So it was a lot. And it was something that I had to work for. So it wasn't like, I mean, like, I was talented, but I did have to put in work. So that was, I don't know, I always tell my son, like, I really wanted it. And because I wanted it, I went for it. And I feel like a lot of that's missing now, wanting it. I never wanted to lose. And if I did lose, I worked extra, extra hard to win. So that was my thing.
Going back to that remark about someone alleging you taking steroids, which baffles me because I don't know what the protocol is, but especially at the high school level, I know the rules are pretty well set, and I've never heard anyone take that up. Maybe someone's starting something, but between that and then Henry Combs noticing you, I've always been curious about this. I heard about all of the times you set and all of the wins you picked up, but was it something that came naturally to you in terms of just being able to run and run quickly? Because I know when you're competing in track, there obviously are training regimen practices and you're molding yourself to compete to the best of your ability, but what was the ticket, I guess, to becoming such a fast runner? Because I'm not well versed in track, and so someone seeing you zoom down the block or the hallways, I know you could do it, but I'm just wondering, when did that come to you? Was that always there, or was that something you developed?
I was always fast. So, I mean, I ran AAU track before high school track. I actually came to Hardin because my dad was at Hardin. And like I said, I really worked hard. I've never took a break from track. Every summer I ran for ICAA. We were the breeze at first. And then I moved up to ICAA. I ran for, Melvin Carter ran for our team. I beat him too. Yeah.
Oh, the mayor of St. Paul?
Yeah, definitely whooped on him in track. And he actually called me out in front of the school. So before he became mayor, he came to the school and talked to us. And
he was on the city council, I think, for a long time before becoming mayor.
He ran for our team too. So
in AAU, because I think he went to Central. I'm just keeping my keeping my connections straight here.
Yeah, I beat him really good, and he calls me out every year. So maybe this year we'll compete, we'll race each other again. But I always said I wasn't gonna race him again because I like holding that W over him. But yeah, I definitely whooped him. So, I mean, maybe this year in our 5K, because I said I was going to do it this year. And you know how we have the 5K run, Marshall. So I might do it this year because he does it every year with us. I might do it and beat him.
So we touched on it a bit, but you get to Harding. Kind of a fun story, actually. You went to Harding because your mentor was there. And I do remember seeing him from time to time as I was making my way up. But your first year in track, I think you were a 3-time champion. Was it 100, 200? And 400. So you swept all the sprint races. And my first question, how much do you shudder with your son running in the 800, because that gets to the middle distance, and
Well, I did the 800.
You did the 800 too?
Yeah, I
Because
used
I
to
know
run
that
it.
they say the 400
It's a
is the
sprint.
hardest race
It's a
because you're
sprint.
running one full lap and at full speed or trying to balance yourself compared to the longer distances. So anyway, I'm on a tangent again. This has happened quite a bit, but that's, I suppose, it happens when you get two old high school buddies together. So you get to Harding your first year, and I'm not sure how well known you were at the time, but I think as the season went along and people were seeing what you're doing, it became pretty clear that we would all find out who Sade Pollard was. But what do you remember from that first season, those first races, and that beginning of the journey that would lead you to all that success at state?
Well, I came in with the mindset that I wanted to win. I wanted to be on varsity, and I knew I was gonna work hard to make it happen. So I think I was more excited and nervous than anything. I don't want to say, nobody didn't really know who I was until I started running track. So, and I mean, I played basketball 4 years too. But once we really like got going and track and stuff, and they started to really see, they're like, okay. So it was, I guess, maybe our first meet where everybody's like Coach Combs already knew what I could do, you know, because I ran AAU. Mr. Francisco could look up the time, so he knew, but you just never know. You don't know who's coming with track or who you're competing against. You just go out there and do it. So, and I wasn't really worried. I was always taught, you're racing the clock. So when I ran, everybody on the track was like not even there for me. I was racing the clock. I was going for a time, a specific time. And if I could do it faster, I would. So it was kind of different for me.
That's an interesting perspective, and I think it's one you shared all those years ago when you were a high school student, because I had another good friend of mine who was a three-sport athlete, also took up track, won some state titles there, and she would sometimes get nervous when she was good friends, Phyllis Webb and Taylor Anderson. They came a few years after you did. They had a great friendship, but Phyllis would see Taylor at the state meet and go, uh-oh, I got to go. But you, in your case, had this ability to tune everyone out. Was it the same thing at state? Because I know in that case, you're not worried about a time because you've already qualified. Now you're racing against others. Or was it always just
time?
So you always were focused on beating a time, not necessarily beating fellow competitors.
It was always a time thing for me because I wanted to go to the Junior Olympics. And like AAU, high school track is fun, I loved it. But when you get to go to a national level and you get to race people that's running almost Olympic times, you're like, I gotta pick it up. Or I have to push so I can beat this time. I always had a goal. So if I ran like the 100, I always had a goal. So, oh, well, last week you ran this is where you gotta be. So that's what kept me going. I always had a goal where I was going every meet. I knew that my time had to drop. I knew that if this is where I want to go, this is what I had to do. So I had fun. Everybody that was there loved them. Anybody that I competed against, we always laugh and talk and, but I knew like the clock is coming. Even in my head, like when I'm running the 400, my dad will always be at the last 100 meters. And he's like, all right, that clock, it's the clock. Or if he wasn't there, my brother was there. Or Coach Lindsay or Mr. Francisco, they were right at that last mark. Like, you gotta go now. You have to go now. And it was just to hear that, I'm like, I gotta go now. Tired, whatever, I gotta go now. So those were like my kicks to go.
So there was always a voice out there
Yes.
telling you to go, and you did. I'm curious, were there any idols you had in the sport of track? I'm not sure how much sports you watched or followed growing up. I'm guessing you would take up your share of it when you had time, but were there any athletes that inspired you to compete as tough as you did?
Yeah, I like Marion Jones. I love FloJo. That was my girl.
A little old school there.
Yes, yes.
Wait, she was a
Yes.
big deal back in the 80s. You weren't even born yet.
That was my mom introduced her to me. So I did a lot of reading on her and I followed her a lot. Early in Marion Jones' career, I definitely followed her. I want to say I watched a lot of sports. So I would kind of read about their inspirations, what kept them going, what pushed them to be greater, better. So that was kind of how I went about it.
And now, well, Usain Bolt, I remember his run.
Love him.
Sha'Carri Richardson coming back
Yes.
from her ordeal to
That's
almost come out of nowhere to win the
Yes.
worlds at the 100s.
She
And
showed out. I was very excited watching it. So yeah.
And she's like 5'1". Usually, it's not like basketball or other sports where height can play a helping hand. And you're not exactly short yourself, but I'm going, hey, there's this diminutive athlete, but you see her going out there, and
Right.
I had to watch that 100-meter race a couple of times because, like, hey, she's
was
all the way
crazy.
out in lane 9.
Yes.
like,
And so,
barely
and I-
made it into the field
Exactly.
and just came out of nowhere to
She,
become a household name.
yes, she did that. I was screaming like I was out there. I loved it. She did amazing.
You had bigger aspirations in mind from what you told me, but that first year, you make it all the way to state, and I do remember reading at the time, times weren't always posted on websites, so it took reporters and other people outside of Harding a while to pick up on you. But the first year you go to state, in all 3 of the sprint races, what do you remember from that in terms of nerves, excitement, and when you picked up titles? I think, you won. You were a 3-time champion. Again, trying to get my record straight because that was
Real cool.
almost 20 years ago, it seemed.
I know.
But
it was cold.
it was cold. That first year at the state meet in June?
I'm trying to think. I think it was raining.
Okay, that would
It.
make it feel cold.
I'm like I feel like every state is, whenever we go to state, it's raining, or it's a storm.
One year I covered it, it was pushed back because of morning thunderstorms, so I know what you mean.
So,
but
and I mean, you gotta push through it. There was Khadijah, that's her name, Khadijah. She, I want to say it was my freshman year. It was, I think the track was blue at the time, and I was really scared to race her. She was a Minneapolis girl, and she was really fast, and I seen her throughout my whole A year, watching her, like, she was like somebody I really looked up to, and I'm like, I gotta beat her. So I just remember being nervous, being cold, but having a lot of support. Everybody was there. So that was like all my siblings and my coaches, the school. A lot of people came out to see me. So I just knew, like, I had to do what I had to do. Rain, whatever, I was ready.
So you run the races that you qualified for, the 100, 200, 400, and then you end up winning all 3 of them. What do you remember that from that first year? I'm sure we'll talk more at later seasons. I'm curious how you evolved as an athlete, but what do you remember from that when you realized, oh, you were racing the clock, you weren't worried about anyone else, but you probably look up at the leaderboard and go, wait a minute, I just won this thing.
I didn't know, well, when I found out that I won state, like, for the whole high school, it shocked me. I didn't even know. As far as just doing it, I don't know. I was so happy. I was excited, and to make my mom proud, and I always wanted to go. So I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. I didn't know what was coming out, because you never know. I was always told, like, just keep in mind that there's somebody out there that's watching you, that want to beat you, that's working hard, and you have to make sure you're working. You have to go the extra mile. So when I was out there, I already knew that I did what I needed to do. It was just time to do it. It was like, I'm always nervous. Anytime I step on the track, I'm nervous. But my main thing is to keep everybody on my back. I don't want to see nobody, keep them on my back.
What is it like being a runner? Because I'm sure you are not the only one who gets that tension right before a race, and all the things that you spent many times repeating, making sure you have a clean start, keeping your form, staying in your lane, all of that. What helped you calm those nerves, or did they go away once you got the race going and you could fly as you typically did?
Well, I just remember getting in my blocks, jumping up, and I mean, like, everybody's nervous at the line. But when I took off, I just knew to go. A lot of times, my coach is holding my blocks, or my brother, so I knew, like, it's time to show out. That was all I was thinking about. I knew that there was people on the track that you just don't know what they're bringing. And even though I didn't worry about them, I just knew, like, I'm just ready to make it happen. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to set records. That was like my thing. A lot of alumni talk stuff to me, so I was very big on breaking their records, like, seriously. So it was a good feeling, and I mean, like, it felt good that I was able to do it. So
how many records did you set, and I wonder, do they still stand?
I don't know. I mean, like, I've broken a couple records, and a lot of young ladies I trained, I know, were pushing to breaking some records. I haven't even looked into it, but that would be a neat thing to find out. Because I definitely, I think we were at, I think it's Irondale or the other Hardin, so I know I broke their record, which is pretty cool. I broke a lot of conference records, so it was neat. I mean, I haven't checked in so long.
Oh, it would be fun to see if someone passed your benchmark. That's how I look at records. I don't know how athletes see it, but from people who I've followed in sports or Jeopardy or others that set records, I think a lot of them have said, well, I proved I could do it. I would love to see someone else take it the next step. And speaking of next step, so you win a total of 3 golds, I think, your first year. How did that motivate you the following year? You come in, first time on varsity, you make a splash and continue that process the next year. So getting those accolades, what did that do for your confidence and your beliefs in what you could do?
I mean, a lot of things started to change. After doing it, I mean, like, I had a lot of support and a lot of people that looked up to me. So it was like I had to keep that. I mean, even like my teacher parents supported me. And so I had a lot of support, and I didn't want to let not myself, not my mom, like, not my coach. I didn't want to let anybody down. And I mean, even with Coach Lindsay, his dad loves sports, follows sports. And I remember he used to get me these protein bars because I was always hungry, because I was always running. And when I tell you, like, I had boxes on boxes, and I'm just like, oh my, his dad's like, this is all yours. And he would always make sure I had granola bars. And a lot of a lot of the athletes, like a lot of my peers, they were like, "Up, are you ready for practice? Did you get enough sleep?" Like, so I had a lot of people pushing me. Like, even when I didn't feel like I wanted to, or I'm tired, or it was just there. So, and when I got to do relays, you know, I didn't want to let anybody down. So I'm like, I have to make sure I'm doing what I need to do. So.
What was different and what was the same in that second year? Because the athletes who mentored you, Vanessa, Nuala, Patrick, and I didn't mentor you, but we all graduated. So I'm sure you probably could text them. Yeah, texting was, I think, starting to become a thing back then, but they weren't alongside you as a sophomore and junior. So how did that alter your approach in the sense of, okay, these people helped me. Now, how did you adjust that game plan to stay motivated? It sounds like you had plenty already, but what was different that second year when you had to work with a new crop of teammates?
I mean, I worked out. So my second year, I did a lot of training with the guys. Very encouraging to our girls, but I did a lot of training with the guys, and they didn't spare me. Like
they probably heard what you did the previous year, and they're like, yeah, we can't slack off because she'll
no mercy. And I mean, like, I talk so much trash to them, so I'm like
a little bit of bragging rights, I suppose.
Yes,
battle of the sexes type of thing.
Some of us would stay late because we had to race. It was we would have relays. I mean, like, we always worked. Like, they would push me, I would push them. Sometimes I might get a head start, sometimes they don't. So that was like my way of going harder, because I wanted to beat them. And no man wants to lose to a woman. So it was fun. We had fun doing it, but we definitely worked. Like Chris ran with us too.
Vanessa's husband?
Yeah.
That Chris?
Yeah. Yep.
He always has a sports take these days.
Yep. So that was me too. I'm like,
football was his big sport, if I remember.
Yeah. And everybody, even after people graduated, they still supported. So I knew, like, I had to keep it going, because there was a lot of people that were dependent on me, or they're rooting for me, and I'm like, let's do it. So I don't want to say I walked in like, I just knew what I had to do, and I knew what I was gonna do. I've always been very confident. I don't want to say I never was like a cocky, unapproachable athlete. I loved everybody. Like, even in cross country, I remember Francisco, and it was another coach that was coaching in cross country, and one of the girls fell, and I literally went to help her up, and they're like, "What are you doing? Go!" And I'm like, my mind was, oh my gosh, she fell, but they're like, you gotta win. So I've always been like a real caring type of athlete. Even after I win, we shook hands, we laughed, we walked with each other. So all the schools. So it wasn't like I can't talk to you, I can't talk to you. It was all in love, honestly.
A little side note here, since Chris, I forgot, was also in track too. Did you have a feeling that Chris and Vanessa would end up together all those years ago?
That's, they dated back then. They dated.
Yeah, that was the point, because they'd been together for a long time and went through some highs and lows, as I think any relationship does. But I was curious and having a little bit of fun too, because obviously they've been together now. They have kids of their own.
Yes.
But I remember going to their going away party when Vanessa, I think, got a job out at Baltimore, and she's still out there. And I remember running into Chris's older sister, and she had said, we worked too hard for this relationship not to work. Like they saw something. So I was wondering if you saw something that
They always love them.
so you knew those two were gonna.
Yes.
You knew for all those years ago those two were gonna be a
Well,
thing.
I don't want to say I knew. I'm just happy that they are.
Yeah.
Because I loved them too, even when we were in high school. So
I'm probably going to get some shade from them for putting this out there like that, but I wanted to have a little fun because, of course, they've been together and still going.
yes.
Who knows? Maybe Vanessa's kids. I think she has 3 daughters. Maybe we'll see them take up track.
Beautiful.
They might call you up for some lessons.
I wish they will. I'm all for it. I coach a lot of our friends' kids or high school peers. A lot of their kids come run for me. So it's amazing.
Isn't it crazy to think about this, though, for you and having kids of your own? Your oldest is now taking up sports, coaching kids who are the offspring of former teammates or people you met. And in my case, I've been broadcasting for 17 years. I reached the point where players I once covered had become parents, coaches, or both. I mean, isn't it crazy how
it is? Because
you go back and you're like, wait a minute,
and
I remember.
Think about it. Yes. Yes.
When did you get this old, or when did you grow up so fast?
I'm looking at one of my, I call her, she's my baby. Her name is Abby, and she's very talented in sports. She does everything. And she's like a sophomore, and I'm just looking at her like, I remember when you were 8, when you were 7. And so it's like a good and bad, it's an emotional thing, but it feels good to see a lot of runners, athletes that I got the chance to mentor and coach really excel. They're in college, like Paul Rhodes' son and Dre. I'll be really excited. I got to work with Emmanuel Matadi. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
The name doesn't ring a bell. But I have a feeling it might now when all of your friends see this.
He ran in the Olympics and everything. He went to Johnson.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know a whole lot of well, you have to remember social media really wasn't a thing back then,
Very
so we
true.
couldn't connect. People have even said the rivalries in conference are a lot different now than they were then because you had the AAU, the club track, and I've seen it in basketball, a little bit in soccer. You still have the rivalries, but it's not viewed with the animosity that it used to be, in the sense like, whenever Harding and Johnson would meet, that was always a big deal.
Yeah.
And there's always pride, of course, but I don't see that as frequently, which I'm fine with because, like, hey, we all speak the same language. We're all connected through sports.
I like the.
So I've learned to appreciate it in a healthy way.
Yeah, I agree. I love the rivalry. I love we get to go compete with Johnson because that was our rival. And the bragging rights, I mean, it was fun. It was fun. Even in track, and we all talk stuff, and to have to be able to work with different athletes and from every high school, it's a good feeling. And to still have that rivalry, like even in my coaching now, I'll mix it up and we'll do a relay, but we'll mix it up with like 10 kids. Everybody have to run 100. You have to, and whoever wins don't have to do 25 push-ups or something like that, because you still got to give them that push. They have to work for it, and nobody wants to lose. So, I mean, I love it. And even in our indoor training for track, we'll do a relay, and I'll jump in it, and it's fun because it's like you get to see your kids really push and work hard to not let their team down. So I love that.
So junior year comes along, and sophomore year you defended your state titles, but junior year I feel like was a breakout in the sense of exposure, because that's when I noticed a lot more news coverage, or at least you got a couple of features. So both the Star Tribune and Pioneer Press reach out to you and do profiles of your success, and I think you got a blurb the previous year as well, where they talked about your background and how you got there. What was that like when you had reporters coming up to you and saying, "Oh, can we talk to you about
So
how you've done in track?
They never really talked to me. I mean, like, I knew they were there. They never really talked to me. A lot of, like I remember one time they came to the school to talk to me. For the most part, they'll come, they'll watch, they possibly talk to my coach, maybe my peers. But when I'm on the track, it's not like I'm not doing an interview. I'm warming up, our team is warming up. My coach was really big on, like, we know that you're talented, but we do our stuff as a team. I did everything like we did with our team. So it wasn't like you get to go over here and you get to personally work out over here, or no. We all did it together, and I really appreciated that. Even the hurdle runners, or we warm up together, we stretch together, and at times I didn't even know the reporters were there. So I mean, I'm kind of grateful for that, because it keeps you level-headed.
So, what do you remember when you got the papers, both Star Tribune and Pioneer Press, and you see your name, you see your photos? I know the Star Tribune, I think, had you on the front page in their sports section, and they had a photo of you and Henry Combs, and then they showed a couple of others with a couple of your teammates. I think Ryan Bidwell, is that, and Candace Brown. I had no idea. I forgot she was in track too. Mm-hmm. And everyone, right. they were all everyone was happy for each other, at least from what I gathered. But to get the paper and see your face in a big photo and to see your name, what do you think that symbolized for you at that point?
It was a really good feeling. When we found out I was in the paper, we ran to all the stores to buy all the papers.
So you're the reason there was a shortage that day.
Yes,
I'm kidding.
Yes. I don't know. It just felt good. Like, everybody, you walking through the halls and your peers is high-fiving you, or you're on the morning announcement. It just felt really good. But I guess it helped me be a better person and to keep it going. It was an amazing feeling. Like, I never thought, like, I'm gonna be on the front page or I'm gonna be in the newspaper. So I was very excited about it.
And then you follow that up with another, I think, trifecta. You swept the sprint races again. And what do you think helped you stay consistent? I think you indicated your level-headedness, trying to be humble and not let egos take over, but to do it. And I think it was either that year or 2006, one of those years, where you got Harding a third-place finish. So to do all that again, 3 years running in your races, and then on top of that, put your school on the podium when you were the only person representing the school, if I'm correct, and if I'm wrong, feel free to let me know, because I wasn't there, you were. But when you look back on that, that has to be something, because it's hard enough to win once, but to do it several times. And I think had it not been for some injuries, you might have been able to do the trifecta as a senior. But that junior year, you have to be going, is this really happening?
Yeah, I mean, my team was very supportive. Like, all the athletes, if I had, if they didn't make it to state, they still came to practice to work out with me. They didn't have to. Being there cheering for me, or actually being there practicing. And that's probably what really kept me humble, the amount of support I had. Because when you have that much love and support, you only want them to be happy with you. And I didn't really have like a lot of like jealous. I mean, like everybody, my brothers, my mom. I had different people, like they would make me food or snacks, like, oh, you gotta have this, or you make sure you're drinking your water. So I just wanted to make sure they were proud, and I didn't want anybody to think that their time or their giving went in vain. So I knew I had to stand my ground and make it happen.
And then senior year, I think you were able to get back to state, but you were dealing with some ailments that year. So I think you, if I remember, you had to skip the 400.
Yeah,
How tough was that?
oh my God, that was
you made it back, but you knew you weren't 100%, and I'm sure that had to be a little frustrating to
yeah, it was,
not be in the position you'd want to be in.
Yeah, it was a lot. I don't know, never did I think my senior year this was gonna happen. And it was kind of crazy because now that we're looking back, like in that point in time, I didn't know I was sick. And so we went through, I had the best support system. So my leg, I tore like from the back all the way up. And they were trying to do like some shocking thing that they use for like the Viking athletes. They were doing everything they can to help me get myself up to par for state. And it was just bad. It was bad and it was very painful. And later on, like I'm in college and I'm training and stuff, and then I found out that I had scleroderma. So that would have explained the breakdown and the not being able to build up and kind of recover, because what I was getting done, I should have recovered. So that was really hard for me because I wanted to win state. And I'm like, I've been working so hard, so I wasn't expecting it to be that way. And I still remember my dad coming to talk to me, and he's like, you're gonna sit this one out. And I was so mad at him because I'm like, no, I can do it. We could wrap it up. I could do it. And my dad is like, I don't want to injure your leg more. I don't want this to happen. And I wasn't trying to hear that. So that's why I was able to be there for the first day. But then the second day, my dad was like, no, I think I was barely making it to the car. So it was hard. It was hard because that's not how I wanted to end my season.
I think you spoke the words of many athletes. I've been friends with a lot of them, past and present, and that is the one thing they hate is being a spectator. They want to go, and I would say your dad was watching for you. Again, you wanted to make sure that you didn't make any injuries worse, because ultimately, he's looking after you. So I think the biggest thing and the most responsible thing is making sure you stay that way. Because as you've learned, and I learned this, I think all of us learned, there's more to life than one race. And the timing stunk, but as you explained, you found out it was part of a bigger situation. I believe we spoke of this some time ago, and I learned a little more about scleroderma because of the late Bob Saget. His sister had it, and he took up advocacy after she passed from that disease for the rest of his life. But when did you find out about the diagnosis, and how difficult was it for you to absorb? Because I recall reading all the schools that gave you offers. The Pioneer Press even said you could be a blue chip. It was one of many nicknames you got from your teammates. They all had something for you. Cheetah was one. Like, yeah, Cheetah sounds about right.
Right.
But I know that ultimately derailed your plans. I think you were going to pursue track collegiately, and then this came up and you had to make this unwanted course correction. Mm-hmm. How did you handle all of that?
So I had went to college, and I was coming back, and I was in training, and I started having like these pains or whatever, and it actually took a long time. It took about 2 years because like they couldn't figure out what was going on, but I was in college. Like I was training for the Olympics.
Where did you attend, if I may ask?
So I was at University of River Falls.
Okay.
I started off there because I had to, get myself going in college and stuff. And I was doing really good. I was training, and no, I didn't start off at River Falls. I went to Kansas for school, and I was doing good. We were training, and I was having like a lot of breakdown and not build up. And I seen the doctors, and a lot of stuff wasn't making sense, so I had to come back home. And when I came back home, then that's when like the scleroderma start doing what scleroderma does. And I was like in denial for a while because I'm like, my track career is not done. I'll be able to get through this, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. But then like learning your body and learning what you can do was what it really was. And I had to learn to walk. I had to learn to use like my fingers and stuff like that over it started to, even while I'm in training, I had a baby in between that. So
Who's now in track himself.
yes. And so now, so I was at the University of River Falls, and I was training. My son was on the track training with me. So the coach is like, well, this is where I need you at. And we start doing my times, and I'm there. And he's like, okay, so now we got to do this. You got to drop down this. And we're going through all the things I need to do so I can get ready for these meets, so I could get ready for Olympics. And I had got up one morning and couldn't walk. And I'm like, I thought I was like tripping, and I'm like, no. And so after going to the doctor and a lot of testing and stuff, I found out I have scleroderma, and I had to kind of sit back and take care of myself and see what it is I can do, if I can do, and go from there. So it was a lot, because never did I want to not run track. I mean, like sometimes it's hard to watch it because it's like, no, this. And I mean, like I still get out there now and I'll run or I'll push a curve for my kids. I'm really big on showing them. So it's difficult, but I'm glad that I'm able to give back and pour into somebody else.
So what helped you move forward? You mentioned how difficult it was, and there are athletes, I've known a lot, who had ACL injuries and they have to sit out a year, which is excruciating in itself. In your case, you had to pretty much stop everything you were doing, so everything you had, I guess it lends credence to that old saying, we plan, God laughs.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the intent to laugh at your expense. That's not what I'm going for. But to go through that, you had dreams of making the Olympics, and you had a decorated track career with several individual golds, getting a bronze for your school. Pretty impressive feats, and now you have to make this entirely different course correction. What helped you come to terms with that, and what has helped you move forward in addition to coaching and now getting to mentor your kids as they're taking up sports?
Well, my brother ran track. So me being able to push him and support him, he was always on the track with me. Track was not his thing, and he went and won state his senior year. And
where did he go? Did he go to Harding too?
He went to Highland.
Highland, okay.
Yeah. And
so your family just likes to tear up. Well, your son's at North St. Paul. I'm like, you could. It would have been a kicker if your oldest son went to Johnson.
Man,
but it seems like your family just tearing up St. Paul track.
Yeah, and I just feel like I just know that my purpose is to push out that greatness. That's why I do coach. And somebody seen something in me that I didn't see in me. And I have that gift to see something in these young athletes that they don't see in themselves. And so it's really a good feeling to see my kids that I got to coach win Junior Olympics, win these track meets, excel in football, and even come back and say, Coach P, thank you. And I look forward to that. Like I'm coaching basketball right now, and I coach 10U girls. And just them knowing like our coach got our back and our coach want us to be great, and I'm the coach that go check your grades and I call and check on you. I'm just grateful that I'm still able to use my body to do that, to give those type of things back. It was given to me and I give it back.
That does lead into my next point, because I know I've seen you with coaching. So where do you coach exactly, in case people want to see what you're about and just see how well you train those next generation of athletes to maybe one day make a run at your records?
And I'm all for it.
That would be cool though, right?
Yeah, it would.
But where do you coach, and what have you gained from that experience?
So I coach. This last year was my first year coaching basketball, and I coached for Hancock Rec. And
10U, right? So yeah, so probably wouldn't see you at the high school ranks just yet.
No, I mean, well,
maybe, but it's like, I don't think we would see you at a high school when you're at a 10U. That's what I'm getting at.
But I mean, like, it starts with them. That's how I started, and they need that. A lot of kids don't play sports. I mean, it's really hard to get a lot of these young kids out playing sports. So for them to call me, or for them to be like, Coach P, are you coming back next year? When they're looking forward to it, I'm looking forward to it. And so I know that I'm doing what was done for me. Just to hear that they're asking, or to see the parents saying like, hey, Coach P, are you ready? I'm ready. Even when I don't feel good, I'm there. And it feels good, because it's like what was given to me, I'm able to give back, and I'm able to show them. And that's enough for me.
And then where do you coach in track?
Oh, I'm still coaching. So we're working out off season at Washington Tech. And in the summer, we at Hardin. So, yeah.
Your old stomping grounds.
Yes.
I'm guessing you and Henry have stayed in touch over the years. So what were those conversations like when this person that he once mentored is now turned into a coach, and some of those things that I'm sure he passed along to you, and some of the interventions like that senior year where he's going, hey, we got to make sure you're taken care of. I know you want to race, but to take over that role that he once had, how did that change the dynamic where you're going through some experiences that I'm sure he went through coaching you and all of your teammates back in the day? So what are some of those conversations been like, and perhaps how has he helped you adapt from an athlete to a coach?
Well, he always he lets me get a feel for the kids. Well, like sometimes I'll do practice, and he just want to see like, on certain days, you just gotta know, like, today's a bleacher day. Like, we don't just have a schedule where today you're doing this, today you're doing this, today you're doing this. It's never like that. You have to know your athletes. You have to get a feel for your athletes, because some days they'll come in, they have so much energy that today, or if it's hot, this might be one of those workouts where we have to do stations, or we have to really go for it. And so him just giving me the opportunity to get a feel for my kids, and stepping back and watching and making sure that I'm doing what he would do. He's always there to correct, but in the last couple of years, he has set back a little bit and gave us the opportunity to do what he's taught us. So it's a good feeling. And just being a supporter. Like, of course, he's the head coach, but he's now at a place where he still will demonstrate, but he's at a place where, let me sit back and see what you guys are capable of doing. Let me see what I showed you and poured into you. You poured into these young kids. And I love that.
And what have you gained through all this? What have you learned about yourself? Because not only are you working with young athletes at the 10U level in rec basketball, and who knows where that will go, but also working with athletes at the high school level at Washington, and now you're helping guide your son as he is navigating his way through the high school experience, both in the classroom and in athletics. What is it like working with effectively an extended family where you have your son and you have all of these other surrogate kids, if you know what I mean?
So I just really, like, my thing is never say can't. And we have this thing where if you use the word can't, you're either going to do a killer, that's basketball, or
The suicide?
Yep.
We call them suicides too.
Yep.
Players don't like that.
No. And I mean, anytime they say can't, like for my track kids, they owe me push-ups or they'll owe me something because
Protein bars, right?
yes. I
You
tell them,
should
yep.
charge them in protein bars.
Yes.
Build up that stock again.
No, seriously. And I tell them, I said, you can do anything that you want to do. If you're willing, and I'm not going to do what you're not going to do. And I tell them, I said, even at practices, I did our summer track past year, me and a couple of our former track runners did the bleachers. And it killed me.
It's a little different in your
Yeah.
30s versus
when you're
being in high school.
And
You're
I
like,
mean,
wait a minute.
But we did it, and it felt good to be on the track with even like because some of our coaches went to Central or they went to Johnson or they went to Como, and all of us come together and we did the bleachers, and being able to show our kids like we still can do this. If I can do it, you could do it. I had 3 kids. We don't use the word can't, and we really pull out what they don't see, and I love that. And having parents that allow us to pour into their children is an amazing thing because it's a lot in today's world. And getting young people to listen to you and them really pushing and going for it, it's amazing.
And I'm guessing you're the same way with your son, too, if he tries to
Yes.
say, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. So you show him no mercy either.
No mercy. They're not going to show me any mercy. So even from the 2-year-old.
That's right, because he wants to definitively beat you.
Yes, and so I have to be the same way.
Now your 2-year-old son, he got a little ways.
I can't
I'm
show
saying
no mercy to him.
what I mean, like, yeah, you probably don't have to go as hard with him yet because he's 2 compared to your son who's 14, 15.
And my 6-year-old, he's very competitive. Like he was 2 years.
Wonder where he got that from.
Yes, he's doing push-ups and squats, and he's very, very big on finishing. And I have to do it. Like I'm really like I'll when they're at school, I'm probably at home like, let me do these crunches, let me do this because I know that he's gonna want to race me or he's gonna want to beat me in something, and I'm not gonna let him beat me.
As long as you can help it.
Yes.
There might come a point where they do, but I would like to think it would signal their evolution that
I'm
maybe
have to
there'd
be
be
like
some
50, 60 years old before I let them beat me.
Well, we'll have to follow up on this
Yes.
in about 15 years.
Yes.
Oh man, I don't even want to think about that yet.
No, for real.
So there's something I wanted to touch on going back to your diagnosis and how you've managed that, because it's something that, as far as I know, it's with you and you can't get rid of it. But from what you've told me, and you have all these plans, you have done your best to find ways to manage it so that it doesn't impact you. It apparently hasn't impacted you to the point where you can't do those bleacher runs, maybe not as quick as you used to, but you're still racing, you're still running, you're doing everything that you were accustomed to doing in high school and college. What have you learned about yourself through that experience and how you've managed these conditions, and what do you hope it will say about perseverance where, yes, I have this, but I'm not going to let it interfere with what I want to do?
I would say because I have scleroderma and I have lupus, and I mean, my life changed totally. And I just feel like as long as you want it, you'll make it happen. Like, no matter what you're dealing with, if you want it, you're gonna make it happen. I had to learn to walk. I had to learn how to use my hands, and every day is different. But because I know that I have a story, and if I could push one person, that one person can push that next person. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, there is days where I'm like going through it, or I'm in a lot of pain, or some days I have swelling, or, you know, every day is different. But I look at my kids, and when I say my kids, I'm talking about my track club, my basketball girls, and I'm like, I gotta get up. This is what keeps me going. Them. I don't want to let them down, and I'm really big on not letting them down. And even with my son would tell me, like, Mom, I want to dunk. I want to do this. All right, let's do it. If you want to do it, let's do it. And I'll push him on how to get there. I'll show him, and I'll go as hard as I could go. And sometimes I deal with those consequences later, but I'm really big on pushing their dreams out. So I just keep going. Like, even in some days I'm in pain. Some days it's like I don't want to get up, or some days I can't use like all my fingers and stuff like that. And I think about, I woke up, God woke me up, and I could do this. And I tell myself, I'm never telling myself I can't. So as long as I'm here, I'm gonna push through it, and I'm gonna see to my children excelling. And that's all my children.
And I do have a few questions I love to ask of my guests because the answers vary, and I think it reveals some illuminating facets that don't always have to do with sports or records, but this one is more of a sports-related deal. Throughout your time in track, what would you say was the most exciting moment and the most embarrassing moment? And other sports, too. This could be any sport, but track, I know, was the one that you made a name for.
Oh, my God. So I actually have two little, my balance coordination sucked. And I always wanted to run hurdles. I just always wanted, all the cute guys did hurdles. Was that your motivation to take up track in the first place? Like, you just wanted to hang out with the cute guys? It wasn't about records or state medals? It was Patrick. You remember Patrick?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I think he's in Miami, or he was.
So, like,
okay, yeah. So you had a little crush on him, is what you're telling me, and you wanted to run hurdles.
Man, I was determined, and I knew my balance coordination sucked. It still sucks, and I was just like, I'm gonna jump the hurdles. I remember I fell on my face, bust my nose, trying to show out, and I'm like,
modern day Marsha Brady.
Yeah.
Oh, my nose.
Never.
I'm a horrible person. You're talking about one of the most humiliating moments of your life, and here I am making pop culture references.
That's all right. Go for it. I'm like, those are like, and as for basketball, I remember I fouled out at Central. We were playing against Central. It was Angel Robinson. And that's my girl. Love her.
Angel, Kiara Buford was there. Oh, I covered those teams. We got beat studs.
So bad.
De'Ara Taylor, Georgie Jones.
Yes.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, those years, especially I think 06, 07, they were beating up on everybody. Yes. It was a bloodbath no matter who the opponent was.
And we were like, we still laugh and talk about. I told my mom.
She's coaching now at Tartan.
Yeah, that's my girl.
So you might run into each other this winter.
Yeah, I tease her all the time about how she pinched me in the game and how she made me foul out. I was so mad. I think I scored like 16 points that game, and then I fouled out, and she was laughing at me and talking stuff.
But you know what? You still had the track honor.
Yes,
It's like, all right, you want to
yes,
That's probably, you set, how many disputes did you settle on the track?
everyone.
Because I'm guessing she probably couldn't keep up with you.
Nope.
But she was, as much as we joke, let's not discredit or diminish the fact that she was an accomplished, she played over 10 years, I think 15 years
God.
overseas.
Every time I tell my son, like, you don't know who
One
this
of my
is.
first game, the very first game I called, you might remember the broadcasting, was St. Paul Central.
Yes.
And Angel. And then I got to see the Central South rivalry with Taylor Hill.
Yes. And Angel, her, like, basketball, she gonna talk her stuff, but after your game, she loves you. She's pure. She's sweet, very sweet.
So anyway, you said you fouled out and Angel was talking smack, so that was your worst basketball.
She made me foul out. She made me foul out.
Angel might have a different point of view. We'll have to bring her on and see.
Yeah, ask her. She's gonna tell you she made me foul out. They were so mad. They were so mad. They couldn't keep up with speed-wise on the court.
I forgot you played against those teams because I've known Kiara for years. Angel, I've known her a bit, and I know her dad as well. He coached at Como Park when Andrea Adams was making her way up, and she turned into a quite the athlete at Como and in college. I didn't realize just how many connections we had.
I know, and I mean, a lot of us still communicate to this day, so it's good.
North St. Paul Tartan, when those two meet, I can see it now. Angel, about that time you made me foul out.
I still tell her to this day.
We'll bring the two of you on, and then perhaps we can settle it once and for all.
Yes.
And a good friend of mine is actually coaching at North St. Paul now.
Okay.
Latoya.
Hey, now.
You may not, Latoya Turk. She just joined the staff this year. Her brother's the head coach now at North St. Paul for girls basketball.
That's good.
So your son can't play for that team, but
right.
But you might play them, and another good friend of mine is in their conference at Two Rivers. Oh my goodness!
That's good. I'm excited.
I'm trying to have a laugh with you, and here I am. We're on another tangent.
That's all right.
But that was something. I mean, I'm sure you would have loved to have played a little better, but not only did you win state, you got to go up against that team of superstars at Central, and and you're still friends with Angel, Kiara. She's one of those people who became a parent and then a coach. She was one of those first players I covered. And I know she's taking up coaching again. And
I love it. I just love that everybody's giving back and pouring into our youth, and them getting the opportunity to even...
They put St. Paul on the map, that team.
Yeah.
Well, and you did too in track.
Thank you.
And because so many people, you're talking about the shade with steroids. Well, folks love to throw crap at the St. Paul schools. I know Harding was in the news for some not so flattering things last year, but there was a time around the time we were in school where, there were obstacles. I think every school does, but there were a lot of talented athletes in St. Paul. And so if you look past it, you were going to miss out.
Very true.
So where were we? Oh, what was your most exciting moment? We haven't gotten to that yet. I mean, we spent all this time about you falling on your face in hurdles and getting clobbered by Central. Again, they did that to everybody. I know you had some exciting moments because we've been talking about it for the last hour. What would you say was the most exciting one?
You know what
Was it clearing a hurdle?
Man, no.
Were you able to clear one?
No. I would say I appreciate my winning, of course, was like very exciting, but coming to the school and you're turning in and your name is on the congratulations, Sade Pollard, just how much love I got from my school. Keenan always calling me the wrong name on purpose. Keenan, he still does it to this day. He calls me Sadie.
Sadie.
And I'm like, Keenan, when are you gonna learn my name?
It's like
he knows my name.
You're right. It was like, so kind of a running gag because the articles made it clear it's pronounced like the jazz singer.
Yes, but I just got to meet so many amazing people, and even my coaches brought their kids, and I got to meet their kids and take pictures and just really pour into people. I love it. I love being able to pour into everybody and give back. So that was like that's my exciting part. I love it, even to this day, being able to, when people come up to me and be like, or like they bring their kids and they're like, do you know who this is? And I get that opportunity to work with their kids. I'm grateful for that. Being able to argue with the mayor, and me and the mayor argue all the time. We can be in the grocery store and we're arguing.
Arguing with the mayor, arguing
Yes.
with Angel Robinson.
Yes.
You've got this vicious streak I didn't know about.
Yes, because they talk stuff to me.
I didn't realize you were so salty.
They talk stuff, and I'm like, I'm all for, if I have to race you, I will.
I was too smart to try any of that with you because I know, like, I might last 50 meters, but it's like the SpongeBob meme, I'm going to head out because, like, there was no way I could keep up with you when I'm looking at you.
I'm all for it. Like, anytime I was called out, I was prepared to take that challenge. And that was bad.
And you did drop 16 points on Angel, so...
Yep.
No, it's not like you were a side piece.
Right. Look, right?
There's going to be a long list of people who see this and go, all right.
Yep. They're going to let her know. I let her know all the time. So it feels good. And I always
I may never be allowed to talk to you again after this because we're putting all these people on blast.
Yep, as we should. As we should.
See, and I'm too nice for that because it's like, I know nothing I say or do is going to change what happens out there, so I don't get worked up about
If they want to race us, we'll do a relay.
Well, you would.
You got to help me.
Oh, you'd have to get, your kids might have to get me up to speed too because I have no form and my left hip sometimes gets a little tight.
We're going to do a little relay. And if Angel want to play some basketball, she already know what's up. She know it's gonna have to be a team
Angel's
thing.
no slouch. I think if the WNBA had more teams, she would have found a spot there. She was great at Marquette.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I'll never forget seeing Angel play, and much like you getting in the paper, she was the big star. And,
yes.
It was fun, and Kiara had some great stories too about getting to play with her for a couple of years. So. I don't know if this would qualify this salty streak of yours, but another question I'd like to throw out there because it always produces fun responses. What would you say is the most unusual thing about yourself that people wouldn't know if they met you for the first time?
I love to cook. And I am like very, very caring and loving. A lot of people say that I'm intimidating. I'm like, I am the sweetest person.
Well, when you're taking on the mayor and Angel Robinson, I can understand why.
But they called me out. The mayor called me out. It was a school, we were in the auditorium. Every grade was in the auditorium. And he called me out in front of the whole school. And we literally left the auditorium and went to the track and raced. He had on a suit. He had on dress shoes. He had to take them off.
It's a bit like the Rich Eisen, if you know what I'm talking about. He runs and does the 40-yard dash in the suit every year. So he pulled a Rich Eisen.
Yes, he called me.
You can't run in dress shoes, though.
He took them off.
I mean, there's no, like, I can't.
He definitely took them off.
That probably was a smart thing because trying to run in dress shoes, I don't think would end well.
Nope. And I don't know, I'm just like.
And you had your cleats ready to go, I presume.
I took my shoes off.
Okay,
I
so
told
you
him,
both ran shoeless.
Yep, we had to, because I didn't want him to have no reason to say why.
You wanted to, you were like, okay. I like how we just went in a completely different direction, but you said, you look out for others, and sorry to jump on you, but
no, you're fine.
I was going to say, you said you like to cook and you also like to look out for other people, even though people apparently have this perception that you're an intimidating presence. I suppose in track maybe they did because they're like, uh-oh, I got to run against this Sonic the Hedgehog lookalike here. But go ahead and finish up that story because you were touching on it already, but I find it amusing that people think you're scary.
That's what I know. I'm like, no, maybe it is sports. I do talk stuff, I ain't gonna lie. Especially when they talk stuff to me. I've never been the one to go out and talk to stuff, but they come talk stuff to me and I'm just like, let's do it. So I guess just competing. Like even when I go back to like my childhood, we used to, on Selby, there was a barbershop called Clean Cuts, and me and the owner would call everybody out in the neighborhood, and we would race, and that was like our thing. And so, I mean, like I always talk stuff, ready to beat any of the guys or whatever, and it's just crazy because I'm like somebody had told me like, I never thought that you would be like this. Well, because I think people just think because you're talented or because you're really good in something, you have to be a certain way. And I was never that person. I'm the person that we could stretch together, we can laugh after the race. You know, I've always been that person that would give pointers if they wanted it. You know, I didn't want to seem like I'm better than you, I'm better than you. That was never my thing. So it's neat. It's neat after somebody who didn't know me, like they're like, wow, you're different. I'm like, yes, I'm a sweetheart. This is my thing. So it's neat.
And you have this understanding, I suspect, that it's a race and it's fun to win, it's fun to get the glory, but there's a world out there, and that world isn't going to be focused on where you finished. It's going to be how you made others feel. Right. And that's how I look at my sports work. It's been cool to cover a lot of those great teams, but it's fun to keep those friendships going. Like Kiara and I, we've been talking. I've known their family for years, and I'm looking forward to seeing Angel again after all this time. She and I had a lot of mutual friends in basketball, naturally. So it's going to be cool to see what she does as she makes that transition to coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go check her out. I always support. I'm a big supporter. So I like to go support, bring my kids, and just so they can see. You know, I love supporting. It's a good thing.
Another question I wanted to ask you. With everything you've experienced, you've gone through plenty of highs, being the talk of the school with your 3 straight titles in the sprint races, and having that be the flashpoint for getting others to learn about you, and then having a diagnosis that upended all of your visions, your dreams, and your goals, and having to lay out a new set of them. And along the way, you've been a coach. You've been able to see your kids grow, both the kids you coach and your own. A lot of highs and lows, a lot of successes, and a lot of personal losses, I understand as well. So you've gone through a lot that might break other people, but you're still going. So with all of that, with everything you have gone through, what would you tell a younger version of yourself?
Keep going. Like, God has the final say. And people could say a lot, and it can be very discouraging. And just because life can make a drastic change for you, like, you have to find a way to make it better for you. And I've been like really, really big on my youth and just showing them life. Like, my life is very different, and I don't like to get like sad because I'm here. Like, I have 2 illnesses, but I'm here. And because I'm here, I got something to say, I got something to do. And as long as I'm able to do it, I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna do it with a smile. Anytime I'm able to pour into somebody's life and I get to see the outcome, that keeps me going. It's an amazing feeling to see my kids go to Junior Olympics and win, them seeing me walk into their school and they're like, that's Coach P, sending me their grades. Like, I do hair, and a lot of my younger kids that come, like my high schoolers, their grades are good, I give them a big discount. Like, everything I do, I always try to give back. And at times, it's not even about it being beneficial to me, it's the way it makes me feel. So me being able to give back and pour into our youth or pour into individual people, it's an amazing feeling. And that's how I keep going. That's what keep me going. That's what make me not get down about being sick and what comes along with lupus and scleroderma, because it's a lot. But me being able to still be here and do what I'm doing, it's amazing. And I thank God for that. And I just keep going.
And I would never hear the end of it if I didn't mention this before we wrap this up. A few years ago, you were inducted into the Harding Athletics Hall of Fame. We were listing all these accomplishments, and I left that out. And, even though you didn't get the ending that you wanted as an athlete, to get that consideration, to get that honor, and to know that your name is along that wall. I remember seeing it when I was in high school, all of the names that get added. I think a couple friends of mine have since been enshrined at the school, but what does that mean for you to see your name along that legion, that lengthy list of athletes who left a mark at Harding High School?
It feels good. It feels good because I worked hard for it. I felt like I deserved it. I didn't know. There's a lot of talented people. There was a lot of talented people at our school. And for them to give it to me, it caught me off guard, but it's a great feeling. I got to be a part of a lot of clubs, and like the Lions Club, Rise. I got to be a part of a lot of stuff, but me going into the Hall of Fame of my high school meant a lot, and it still means a lot. I show my kids every time we go in there, like, look at mommy. Like,
one day that could be you, right?
Yes.
I'm guessing that's what you tell them.
Yes. And I don't know, I never went into high school thinking that I was gonna do this. So sometimes it shocked me. I get people who send me like a Snapchat video of my picture on the wall, or they'll send me like people send me track videos like, this make me think of you, and stuff like that. It feels amazing. Like, y'all still know who I am. You still telling your kids about me. It feels good, because people are forgotten. And it feels good to not be forgotten. It feels good to still be able to see what you've done. It's a really good feeling.
If nothing else, I've learned that at least one person will never forget you, and that would be Mayor Carter.
He won't. He won't.
Or Angel. You know what? I think the list of folks who won't forget you, at least as long as I'm around, is a little larger than that.
And you could tell Melvin Carter, whenever he wants his rematch, he can get it. He knows. He knows. He knows. Told him he be running that little bridge downtown trying to keep his stuff together. I said, you don't want this problems.
And you know what? With your oldest son now in high school, that might be another opportunity. And it's amazing. I don't get remembered as frequently. I was known more for media than sports, but there are still folks out there. I did a PA for a women's football game at Harding, and the cheerleading squad was there, and their coach remembered me from all those years ago. I had to mention my name. Of course, I had a little more hair back then, too. But she's like, I still remember you. And it was fun to go back. And my memories are long since memories. But I think it's cool, and I'm glad we had a chance to document some of these memories here.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing what all the responses are going to be
I'm excited.
from our fellow classmates to the mayor of St. Paul to Angel Robinson. There could be a waiting list after we're through with this, Sade, but I'm glad we had a chance to make this work, and I would have loved to seen some video. I think that was the one thing on my way here. I was telling my Lyft driver, I said it would have been nice to have some video to show just how fantastic you were.
I know that we can probably later or whatever. I know Coach Combs does have videos. He even at like our practices.
Okay, so if he has them in the archives, I may have some digging. I may have some sleuthing to do.
He does.
I got to go and get that Hall of Fame photo now.
Yes, he does, and Coach Lindsay and Coach Lindsay Johnson. I know Coach Lindsay got a lot of stuff. So I mean, like that it would be nice. That's pretty neat. And I know Coach Combs got videos from way back then, like just him recording our form, and you got to pick it up, or you have to do this. Your arms are here, those type of things. So I really appreciate that.
Well, I'll have some investigating to do, but I'm glad we had this chance, Sade, to have this conversation and catch up a bit. It's been a while, and share some memories that we had. Even though we were only in school 1 year together, you made a lot of friends from my class that still hold up, and I can't wait to see what they have to say when they get an opportunity to watch this interview, and I'm looking forward to seeing what your career looks like as it continues to unfold in coaching and beyond. And
yes, I'm actually, I think I'm going to be a teacher. So I've just been doing a lot, and I think that's the field I'm ready to go into. So.
And if nothing else, I'm going to have another athlete to keep an eye on at North St. Paul now.
Yes.
So if I see another speedster, another roadrunner, Sonic the Hedgehog, or Flash,
it's a
anybody,
thing. Yes.
That's what I should look for, right? If I don't know who your son is, just look for the fastest kid in the 400, 800. I'm going, that's probably Sade's son right there.
Yes. Yep.
Well, thanks for the time, Sade, and best of luck as you continue coaching. And as long as you're here, I can't wait to see you, the memories and stories you will continue to make in this new capacity of yours.
I'm excited. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again, Sade, a former state track champion, now coach, and who knows where life will take her, but she'll be ready for it because can't is not in her vocabulary. And we can't wait to feature some of your stories in the future. So if you have one, you can always drop a line on our social media at @TheMikePeden, because if you have a story to tell, we'd be glad to share it. Until next time, thanks for watching. If you'd like to support TSP television programming, check us out on Patreon, PayPal, or Cash App. And thanks for watching Mic'd Up Sports.